So we're going to start this session by opening ANSYS Electronics Desktop. If you look into your Windows installation, you'll see a folder called ANSYS EM Suite, and I'm running 2024 R1. That's the current release at the time of this recording. When you open that folder, you'll find this ANSYS Electronics Desktop 2024 R1. So I'll select that, and we'll give that a second to open, and we will start building up our project from scratch. So we're going to build this up from scratch. The defaults that we see here might be similar to the defaults that you're seeing. You'll notice that there's a number of docked windows within the larger window of Electronics Desktop here. I have a project manager, a properties panel. I also have a message manager and a progress bar. If you want to get access to those, I can come up to the menu item called View, and I can see which one of those windows are toggled on. So lots of ways to, you can just kill the windows and bring them back up by toggling them on here. This is an empty design right now. The hierarchy is that there's an overarching project, in this case project 1, and this is not useful until I insert a design type here. So we're not going to talk about all of these today. These are different design types. Over the course of this series, you'll probably be introduced to a few of them. We're going to focus on a Maxwell design. So if you watch what happens on the left-hand side in project, as soon as I hit that button and choose Maxwell3D, you'll notice that things change a little bit on the windows. There's a Maxwell design type that shows up here, so I'm allowed to have multiple design types if I want to. This also defaulted to the Draw tab, and as I expand out that project tree, I'll see a number of nodes here that are all important to the workflow, and you'll see I might interact with items here as we set things up and we solve and we analyze. You'll also notice that I'll be using what we call the ribbon tabs as well. So as I click on these individual tabs, notice that the buttons will change. When I'm on the Draw tab by default, if I switch to the Model tab or the Simulation tab, all these buttons are going to change. A lot of these are accessible from the project nodes as well. So if I'm right-clicking here, sometimes I can do the exact same thing by choosing one of the ribbons here, and even some of the menu items here. If you want to get a better understanding of the terminology that I'll be using as I flip back and forth, you can always hit the question mark here in this modeler window, and it's very helpful. It'll bring you right to a web page. In this case, we have the Maxwell design already installed, so it brings us to the Maxwell page. You can see also some of those other design types are up here as well. So what we're going to focus on right now is really following this workflow process. So we're going to mimic the same thing we did in our analytical model. We're going to create a structure, which is going to be our representation of the point charge. We're going to add boundaries and excitations. We're going to run the simulation, and then we're going to look at the results. So really repeating everything that we did in the analytical example that we started this session with. And we might be moving through this pretty quickly, so feel free to pause the video and rewind as much as you need. You can also refer back to some of these help topics here, particularly going to the Maxwell user interface could be very, very helpful for you. It kind of describes the UI, and if I'm using these terms that are a little bit difficult to keep up with as we move this through this very quickly, it could be very beneficial to keep one of these little help pages in the background while you run through the exercise.